Hi guys, welcome back to Infinite Possibilities, the podcast where we explore the lives of amazing people, their choices, challenges and opportunities. And today our very special guest, Paris Lee. Hello.
Hi everyone. My name is Paris. I was an international student and I came to Australia about 5-6 years ago. And then now I'm working as a manager at KPMG with Karen.
Awesome. And what team are you in?
Tech advisory.
Very, very cool. So we're going to see how Paris became so cool, right? We're going to go right from the beginning.
Yes.
So Paris, tell me more about your childhood. What kind of kid were you like growing up?
Yeah, I was a very classic Asian kid, studied hard. My parents were super supportive. I made some random decisions along the way. Sure, we'll talk about those. But overall, I was pretty hardworking, same as everyone else. Studying for a good university was the goal that I had for a very long time.
Yeah, that's awesome. Were you a very self-motivated kid that your parents didn't have to worry about?
Yeah, I never really had those trouble moments. A lot of kids had moments where you
they
just
rebel.
Yeah, exactly. But I never had those moments. I think I was very much aligned with the expectations from my parents. I thought it was important to study hard.
Wow.
And I did want to, get into a better school. I was never a troubled kid. Surprise.
So easy to raise you.
Yeah, so I do a lot of crazy things after because I didn't have that crazy period when I was a kid.
Yeah, and especially when you leave home, right? No
parental. Yeah, exactly. Away from them, that's the whole point.
Yeah, that's awesome. And tell me more about how you sort of fit in the school environment. So you were definitely very academic. Were you sporty? Were you popular? Did you do music?
Yeah, so I did a lot of different things. I think I did dance when I was really young. I did a bit of swimming for a year or so. I played tennis back in secondary school, high school.
No ping pong, no badminton?
No, not one of those classic Chinese ones, nope. Just some random stuff, but I never really stick to them because obviously the study was really intense in China, so I kind of pivoted towards studying hard in high school, so I didn't do much in high school, but I think I was pretty active at school, got along well with the other kids, enjoyed my school time. Yeah.
Wow, the perfect child.
Just up to a point. I was the perfect child.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so when you were younger and you were thinking about the future, in terms of careers, what was kind of floating through your head?
To be honest, a lot of Asian kids would be like, oh, I want to be successful. It was now thinking back, it was very generic. I didn't know what success looked like. I still don't know today. But I do feel because back then, uni, a good uni is all I could see. So that was kind of the only goal back then. Yeah. After uni, just the world kind of opened up a little bit so that you see the other perspectives, and then you really kind of start to think, what matters to you and what you really want to do.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And what about your parents? Did they try to push any particular career on you growing up?
Not at all. My parents are non-traditional, Asian parents in a way, that they're super supportive, and they kind of gave me a lot of freedom and space for me to just explore and try things out.
Wow, the perfect parents too.
As well, yeah, up to a point, yes.
So nice. So tell me about that dreaded Gaokao experience. So for those who are not aware of the Chinese system, so pretty much to get into university, they have to take Gaokao, which is over 3 days, which determines your test score.
Yeah. Well, it was a very impressive experience. I still remember every moment of it, of all the preparation. Especially for Australia, you guys are so fortunate about the whole system.
If we screw up, we still got chances.
Exactly. In China, there's this only one opportunity that determines your pretty much the rest of your life. Is regarded as the most important thing in your life, which is quite sad in a way, because kids are going through it under a lot of pressure. I did too. I was putting a lot of additional unnecessary pressure on myself, and I actually didn't do as well as I would have done it normally.
Yeah.
And if you kind of screw up with that one exam, like you can't get into a really good enough uni, and then you probably wouldn't be able to pick your dream kind of subject or major,
Yeah.
and then your kind of whole life, your
So it goes
career will
downhill.
start from like there, which now thinking back, I think it's unfair to some people because it's the one chance, and the 3 days, like a lot of things could happen for those 3 days.
Yeah. What if you didn't sleep well?
Exactly.
What if you got your period?
Exactly.
Oh my
Just the
gosh.
pain. But I'm glad that I got over it. I'm glad that you guys don't have to experience it. For those ones who experience it, probably know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of hard work. I remember the last year of high school, everyone was kind of going for the same goal, and we had to start studying from like maybe 6:30 in the morning and finish class at like 10:30 at night. So it was like a whole day. A lot of like self-study, but there are a lot of homeworks, a lot of exam papers. I just remember endless exam papers, a whole kind of like thick booklet worth of exams that you have to take. Was just painful, yeah.
Yeah. And that intense studying period, was it just the final year or was it the 2 years leading up?
Yeah, the first 2 years you're kind of prepping for the final year.
Yeah.
It's not as stressful, but definitely the schedule is a lot more intense compared to Australia. Pretty much the regular 7:30 to maybe 6:30, 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
But then for the final year, they added another 3-hour self-study at the end of the day. So you pretty much like all you do is study.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people that listen to my podcast are currently students, so we'd like to get some study tips from you. How'd you get through it and how'd you motivate yourself?
Yeah, to be honest, like it was helpful that I had a goal. I knew which uni I wanted to go to. That was helpful because when I get tired, I just kind of research about that university and dream about the bright future.
Yeah.
That was really helpful. But yeah, you pretty much don't think of anything else. You just kind of concentrate on studying, which is how you get through it. But now thinking back, I think you shouldn't see it as the only way of changing your life. You shouldn't. There are a lot of other opportunities along your life. If you stuff up one exam, you shouldn't determine like the rest of your lives, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's way too much pressure.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And how did you cope with the stress? Did you have a routine to de-stress? I mean, you don't have much time to
exactly.
go out and...
Yeah. All I did was I think having a group of friends that we can chat every day was helpful. And pretty much, didn't have a lot of time to really relax. Always think about that. And I'm really hopeful that not a lot of people have to experience it, especially your followers. But, yeah.
Yeah. Was that the hardest year of your life to date?
Pretty much, I'd say. Is that just that one goal that everyone fights for? And then it was so important with additional pressure that prior to those 3 days, everyone will prioritize like you as something special. The cars will let you go first because they know that you're rushing for your biggest exam in your life. If you go out and eat food at a restaurant, they will wish you good luck, kind of thing. So you feel like special, but the whole attention from the society
Everyone's
also gives
looking
you,
at you.
Exactly. Like news would be talking about you. Everybody knows these 3 days are the 3 days that everybody would avoid traveling, so that they make sure that there isn't any traffic for students. Just a lot of pressure.
Yeah. Wow. And did you get to exercise much during that time? Was there any way that everyone was able to keep fit?
I think, fitness was actually part of the exam, if I remember correctly, but it was way before the 3 day. I think it was probably done like in the second year or something. So during that time, we all have to exercise a lot so that you're not worse off compared to the rest of your peers. But after that, everybody just kind of focused on studying.
Yeah. And you also told me that you didn't do as well as you usually do. Do you know which subject that you're like, oh, I could have done better?
I think there were only a few subjects that I was really good at, and the rest I didn't do so well. I was pretty good with English and math, and the other ones, like, because back then in China, you have to pick whether you want to do more like the focus on science relevant subjects, or you want to focus on literature, arts. And I did arts.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, no, it wasn't for me. It was a hard decision, especially when you were equally good or equally bad. I was the latter. Because if it's very even across the subjects, it's really hard to pick an area of focus. And then because of the area that you pick, you won't be able to apply for computer science, for example, a degree, because you've already picked like one path. It's and now they're changing it. I think you have to study all subjects, but you can pick pretty much whatever, which gives you a lot more time to think about what you want to do for the future.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then tell me about when the Gaokao results were released and you're at your computer. What did you see? What was that kind of environment? Were your parents like just crossing their fingers?
Yeah, it was obviously very stressful. Back then, I already had some weeks off just to chill after the exam.
Oh, that's good. What's the first thing you did after Gaokao?
I think I dyed my hair into red. It was,
Rebel.
as I said, I was like a good student this whole time, and then I just wanted to do something crazy, and it was like bright red. It was ridiculous. Yeah.
And you couldn't dye your hair red previously?
Yeah. School manage everything. You can't dye your hair. It can't be too long.
Yeah.
It has to be always tied up. Yes.
Wow, maybe we should bring the bob cut days back. Yes.
No way. You can have long hair. You just have to tie it.
Oh, okay. And why red?
I don't know.
Why not blue? Why not green?
Yeah, it could be. I don't know. Just a crazy color that I picked at the time. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And tell me about opening it. What was the reaction, and were there tears?
Yeah, it was. To be honest, it was very much disappointment because in China there are different kind of levels and like administration like levels, admission levels.
Yeah.
And I was like normally with my grade I would go within the kind of the top level, but the end result was like just below that kind of passing level. So which means that my dream school that I always dreamed about, I couldn't get into that university.
Could you tell us the name?
It was it was not a specific uni, but I wanted to go to Hong Kong at the time. So I picked a few universities in Hong Kong that I wanted to go to. But back then I had to pass that level so that I can get an interview for the unis.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even pass that level, so I didn't have a backup plan. I didn't know where I wanted to go. So I just picked like a random uni based on the location, based on the major, and did some random research around it. Yeah.
Yeah. So what major did you end up?
Finance. I did finance because I enjoyed math. Weirdly.
Yeah, but you came from like an arts. You did arts in
so
high
finance
school.
would be in sitting that area.
Oh, so finance is part of the arts.
Yeah, so arts is like more around a literacy, geography, history, kind of thing, and science is like obviously math, physics, all the other stuff. But yeah, finance would be into that arts category.
It was?
Yeah.
Okay, that is so weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. And then tell me about the first 2 years of uni in China.
It was good. It was very, very different. Obviously, you studied hard and you never have to study again. It felt like that.
Yeah.
It was really chill. Class, like the schedule was pretty intense, but you don't have to go to all the classes because some are not as important, more like optional. But not like Australia, you can pick and select the courses that you're interested in China. You kind of get a set schedule. If you sign up for a finance degree, it's like a set schedule for this semester. But it was good to begin with. I had a lot of fun, met a lot of friends, but not after like a while that I realized that it was quite, I don't know, like a bit boring because you were always hanging out and you're not really studying and you're not learning much. And I feel like, in your early 20s, it was really a waste of time in a way that you could have done so much more and learned so much more and explored so much more, but I wasn't doing that. So that's why I was looking for a change.
Yeah, and how long did it take for you to get bored? Was it like in the 1 year mark? You're like,
it was actually shorter than that. A couple months in, I only enjoyed for the first couple of months, like hanging out with friends, going out karaoke all the time. But after a couple of months, I realized that this is what they do all the time.
Yeah.
And also, I was not a good fit for the culture at that uni as well. My way of thinking was too open in a way that I wanted to go out and see the rest of the world. I wanted to go out traveling, backpacking, and it was a very different mindset to the rest of my classmates, and that didn't really fit quite well. That's kind of what pushed me away further from staying there.
Yeah, and where do you think you got that curiosity from?
I have no idea. Maybe the city that I'm from is actually quite like an international city.
Yeah.
A lot of foreigners live there. Maybe that, or maybe just, I don't know, social media. So a lot of like cool posts online, pictures and stuff. I know that there are cool stuff out there. I just don't know how it looked like, and I just wanted to see myself. But and the rest of the people don't think that way.
Yeah, so what happened next?
So I was looking for opportunities to really go out and see what's out there. And then my first opportunity was to do, actually the turning point was I hosted someone from Europe. They were coming for a volunteer project over a summer break. And then I hosted him at my home. It was ridiculous.
Very open.
For an Asian parent. It took me a while to persuade my dad. But once we hosted them for a little while, after talking to them and see what's been happening in Europe.
Just one guy?
Just one guy, but it was a group of people, and we hang out a lot. And like speaking to everyone from different countries was such a cool experience. I remember the moment that changed my life was when everyone was sitting in front of like a convenience store, drinking beer, and then people were just like all from like 6-7 different countries, but we used English as the common language to talk to each other. That was a moment that I realized, wow, this is so cool, because it's the rest outside my word, and it was something really different. People think differently, have different culture, have different experience. That was really cool. And then after that, through the same organization, I applied for some international volunteer to do the opposite. So I was the volunteer, and someone else from the other countries hosted me.
So good.
And the first one that I picked was Tunisia, which was in North Africa.
Wow. Okay. So why Africa?
It was so back then I had a lot of options all around the world, pretty much. Africa, I was talking to a few different countries, and Tunisia was one of them. My experience talking to the people who worked on the project, they were really welcoming, passionate. They seemed really nice. And then I did a bit of research around how the country looks. It's an amazing country that has similar culture to Egypt. It has European culture, Arabic culture, and a bit of African culture. It has, up north, it has the amazing beach. Down south, it has Sahara Desert. So it's a very unique country that is so far away from home that has completely opposite culture and everything. So that's why after research, I was like, I really want to go and see myself how it's like. So that's why,
Yeah, so how was it? First, you host a guy homestay, and then now you want to go to Africa. So how did the parents take it?
They were surprised, obviously, because when we were doing the research about Tunisia back then, they had like a domestic war. So from the news, it sounded really dangerous.
Yeah.
Back then, their prime minister was shot, dead.
Oh, yeah.
So it sounded really, really dangerous. But when I spoke to people, they told me obviously the news is always not always the actual reality, and the people are really friendly. It's generally a safe country to go. And then after talking to my parents about, how it's actually like, my parents were okay with it.
Yeah. Did they make you promise like, oh, don't
You have
don't
to.
go?
No, they were fairly supportive. Obviously, we have, they wanted to make sure that I was safe, and I had to call home, every night maybe, or every few days. But overall, they were really, really supportive.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Was it harder to convince them to get that European guy to stay as a homestay or for you to go to Africa?
Maybe similar, because having a guy to stay at my home when I was 17-year-old, for an Asian family, it was a big thing. My mom did not care. She's so cool. She didn't mind at all. But my dad was very traditional back then, and he worried about a lot of things. And that was the first opening for him as well. So after, while we were hosting that guy, he learned English so hard, and he tried so hard to kind of bring the best experience to the guy.
Oh, that's amazing.
So he did a lot of research about the history of that guy's country. And then he was really trying hard to make a conversation with his broken English, which was really cute. So that opened up his mind around how the rest of the world could look like. And then that kind of opened up a lot of the kind of like future conversations around going to another country and things like that.
Yeah. So the real question is, did you and that guy fall in love?
No.
Oh.
But he was really good looking. Oh. That was the initial reason why I said yes to host him. But no.
Oh, damn.
But we were like really close, like sister and brother.
Oh,
so we still keep in touch and still talk to each other, yeah.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then tell me about Africa. How long were you there for?
I was there for 6 weeks.
Wow, that's quite a long time.
Yeah, it was a fairly long time. I did two different projects. I was working at a hospital for a couple of weeks, and I was teaching kids for another 3-4 weeks. And then after the project, I went back to China, and then 1 semester later, I flew again to a different African country. This time it was Mauritius.
Wow.
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah.
Wow. Why Africa again? Why not go somewhere else?
It kind of just landed on me again. Similar process. I was talking to a few different places, and the people seemed really nice, and the view from the internet, the pictures looked amazing. Mauritius obviously has the best beach.
Yeah.
The project was quite interesting. It was a marine project, marine protection. So we were doing a lot of the kind of the expo, like educating people how to protect the ocean, and help with the local kind of community around how they can like make products to make a living, those kind of thing, which was really fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you have any specific memories that you want to share?
Yeah, I remember now thinking back, one of the best memories that I've had in my life
It's beautiful.
is we did like a road trip while we were in Mauritius, and the whole team was a group of young, early 20s, like uni students. And then one of the nights we were sort of camping, but we didn't really have a tent, so we were actually sleeping on the beach. We had a massive plastic, like, I don't know, it was just like a massive plastic piece to wrap us around as like a sheet or something to keep you warm at night. And I remember we were all lying one next to another because we're all friends, like really close. And then we had the plastic wrapped around us, and then the moon was so huge. It was so bright that we were joking. I asked my friend to turn off the lights. It was so bright, and it was amazing listening to the sound of the ocean, looking at the view, the stars, the moon, lying next to your friends. It was just amazing. Yeah, good experience.
Did you sleep well that night?
Yes, I think. I still have a picture of like me being the last person to wake up, still wrapped with the plastic on the beach.
You have to show me after.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Yeah, that's cool. And do you think after coming back from Africa, do you think you changed?
Yes, it definitely opened up my mind because their culture is very, very different. Language obviously is different. Now, to date, I still think Tunisia has the most different culture to Chinese culture or Western culture. I remember it was the only country that I've ever been to. On the street, people would come up and talk to me. They would get my signature.
Wow!
Because they've never seen a living Asian.
Yeah, only dead Asians.
Yeah, no, online from the K-drama or like whatever.
Yeah.
But they're pretty crazy about like Korean drama, K-pop.
Oh,
but they've never seen like anybody
Asian.
like visiting the country. And yeah, it was pretty crazy. I was pretty popular there.
Yeah.
Which I love.
Yeah, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then tell me about what happened next. So, bachelor's in Scotland, how did we end up there?
Yeah, so after the 2 volunteer experience, after the first one, I was really thinking of like a serious change. I know that I don't fit well in that uni in China. I didn't enjoy the culture. I didn't enjoy the fact that we're not learning much and pretty much wasting my time. So I was looking for an opportunity, a serious change, and the school offered like a program where you can do 2 years in China and 2 years somewhere else.
Yeah.
And then I had to choose a country out of like some usual ones like Australia, America, Canada, and the UK. And I picked the UK and Scotland in the end. Yeah.
Yeah, and why is that?
It was a very different experience and country that nobody would pick. And I wonder how it's like living in Scotland because it sounds pretty cool. I didn't know what I was getting into.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a whole new experience. So I just did it.
Yeah, and how was the experience? Expectation versus reality?
Yeah, reality was not bad. I definitely got out of the environment that I didn't like. I met a lot of friends from Europe. They all were studying in Scotland. It was good. I met a whole bunch of friends who have similar interests and mindset, which was really good. Practiced my English, picked up a Scottish accent back then. And yeah, it was a very different culture there. But yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then after your bachelor's, what happened next?
Even though I enjoyed staying in Scotland, but I really couldn't bear with the weather. It was just so cold all the time.
So depressing.
Yes. It actually affects, your emotions like every day.
Yeah.
It's not as sunny. Not everyone is smiling.
Yeah.
So I knew that maybe Scotland is not the place for me to stay for longer. And I didn't know what to do next because, as I said, my whole life was looking at a good university and now I'm at the end of it. So it was really kind of like a confusing period for me because I enjoyed finance as a degree, but I didn't want to do the kind of like finance job at an entry level. I thought it was not as analytical as I thought it would be, and I wasn't sure which place I should stay. I got a little bit of a homesick because I hadn't been home for 2 years back then. With all the reasons, I went back to China.
Yeah.
And I took a gap year just to figure out what I want to do.
Yeah.
A lot of a lot of research again around doing a master degree, because if finance is not something that I want to work in, and
Continue talking.
yeah, and I was just thinking maybe I can do something else for a master degree, and like those tests that you can do to test out what your personality fits, all of that. So I did a lot of that, and then I ended up picking information systems as my master degree and picked Australia.
Yeah, and why Australia? Was that random again?
So not entirely, because I didn't like the weather in Scotland. So I picked the opposite, which is the Sunshine Coast. Yeah, that's probably one of the reasons why. And also, I had a lot of friends already living in Australia, so I had a lot more information this time. And ask how their experience has been. It's always like all of them said, they enjoy living here. So I just came here and give it a try myself.
Yeah, that's cool. And was Infosys much more suited to you than
100%, yeah.
Wow, those tests are accurate.
Exactly, in a way. Yeah, so obviously you have to take your interest into consideration as well, just to make sure that it aligns. But yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And then I want to talk about graduating and then finding a job, internships. How was that ball game?
Yeah, I was pretty lucky in a way. I was trying really hard to get a job while I was doing my degree. I didn't get any luck then. I think mainly because first I didn't have a lot of time to do some serious applications. Second, I probably didn't have a lot of local experience to really add to my CV. So after graduation, I got an offer for like an internship opportunity that really opened up the door, because once you have some local experience, it really helps with a full-time job afterwards.
Yeah, awesome. And then after that first internship, what happened next? What job did you go for?
So it only lasted for like 3-4 months, but while I was doing the internship, because I knew that it was finishing at this date. So I was again looking for a full-time job. And then once I had this local kind of experience on my CV, I started to get interviews. My very first interview was with BDO, and they were looking for someone who has 0 to 3 years of experience for a junior role, and I happened to match that 0 experience.
Yeah.
So I applied, and I got in as my first job. I was pretty lucky in that way, because for larger organizations, because even for BDO, they were not really hiring a lot of people with no experience, unless you go through the graduate program.
Yeah, what do you think? Why do you think you got it then? Amazing.
Yeah, I think maybe a couple reasons. First, the opportunity was open. I had some local experience. I did pretty well in my interview, even though I didn't have a lot of super relevant work experience. But when they asked the questions around whether you have skills in coding, in SQL, instead of saying, oh, I haven't worked in an actual company, I used some examples from the projects that I did for uni, and it really gave them a sense around, what I could do, and it helped, Yeah,
that's awesome. And then tell me about coming to KPMG.
Yeah, so after 2 years, I was working as a data analyst at BDO in their data team. And after 2 years, KPMG reached out to me and said there's an opportunity as a senior consultant in tech advisory. Back then, I really enjoyed the data work, the analytics work that I did back then. But I always wondered if there's anything else that's beyond data within technology. I just didn't know what's out there, and I wanted to find out. So when they reached out, I had a few chats with the team. They seemed really nice. I got to know what they do day to day. It sounds very exciting. It's definitely a lot more kind of breadth in terms of what they do, which helps open up with what I know already. So that's why I kind of jumped across to KPMG.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what exactly does tech advisory do?
We do a whole bunch of things. My key focus at the moment is IT strategy, but the team also does enterprise architecture, operating model, and all those other stuffs.
Continue.
But yeah, the IT strategy is the kind of the key focus that I have right now, which is quite interesting. I really enjoy doing it because it's it's very important to an organization to have a business and IT strategy, given the fact that these days technology has become pretty much the most important thing for a lot of businesses to continue operating. And then every single business strategy has a technology element to it, which is pretty much blending in with their day-to-day, which is quite interesting, yeah.
Cool. And if you were to sort of do a pie chart and break down what you do for IT strategy, what percentage would be Excel, analytics, brainstorming? How would you sort of simplify it if people were to get a sense of a day in the life?
Yeah, I guess in terms of the project, you first will normally start with a lot of consultations with people. Very often you talk to their senior leadership people. You understand what's their business focus. If cutting cost is the key focus over the next little while, 3 to 5 years, that's probably something that you can extract that information out of them. Once you understand their business focus, you can then tie it back to a technology response. So I reckon maybe 30% would be trying to understand their business focus and pain points. The other 70% is to design a future in technology that supports their business goals and objectives.
Yeah, and how much can you use from previous templates, from previous projects? Or do you have to customize a lot?
Yeah, it's quite interesting because I thought before I jumped on to any IT strategy project, I thought, oh, they're all the same,
Yeah,
all they
great.
care about is cost, like cutting costs and like improving their profit, right? But then when I started projects, I realized that every single organization is different. Some care more about profitability, profit margin. Some care more about providing better value to their customers. They all have slightly different problems as well. Some have problems with their legacy system.
Yeah.
Some want to move to cloud and digitalize their whole setup. So it's all different. Template helps us to bring everything together into a one page that is easy to present, and we can easily show the clients, oh, these are the problems that you talk to us about on a page. It helps you really kind of think of all different sorts of perspectives for your technology response as well, but every single problem would be different. So template does help, but the actual analysis is very different.
Wow, still got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome. So we're nearly at the end of the podcast. Just a few more questions.
Yeah.
So one is, I've seen that on LinkedIn you're very active and now you're speaking at different events. So what is your kind of general advice that you give to international students or students in general?
Yeah, I think a few things. While you are studying, you should probably think about what you want to do after uni. With my bachelor experience, I didn't know where I could go. I was very much lost. So if you keep thinking about it while you're doing uni, it really helps when you graduate. At least you've got some sort of direction around things that you want to try out first. And then for international students, especially my experience in Australia, I think don't limit yourself with what you can do as an international student because oftentimes people think, oh, my English is not good enough. I don't have local experience. I don't have any connections. I don't have friends. How am I able to find a job? I I guess you first need to figure out what you want to do, whether you want to stay, whether you want to go back home, or whether you want to just backpack and explore and then figure out, over time. And then you stick to it and keep trying. There are different ways, and with experience, I definitely can say that a lot of my friends, if they want to stay, they can. If they want a job, they could, if they try hard enough. You just have to continue trying, and not think of all the barriers as international students, because they might also be the barriers for other Australian people as well, because a lot of people don't have connections, a lot of people don't have internship experience before they finish uni. It's not any international students' problem. It could be a general uni students' problem, rather than kind of limiting yourself, thinking that I'm an international student, I can't do this.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. And the final question is, what is the meaning of life in your opinion?
Oh, that's a big question.
Of course, get big or go home.
Yeah, that's good. I think enjoy it, have fun. I think of what you want to do, and what matters to you the most, and stick to it and try hard and until you get it, and just generally enjoy the journey, I guess.
Yeah, that's awesome. Journey before destination.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so we're pretty much at the end of the podcast. Thank you so much for being a wonderful guest. I love listening and learning a lot more about you that I didn't know. Yeah, but it's pretty good. So yeah, I want to say bye to the podcast.
All right, thank you. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.